Hey, I'm Mark Hamrock with Hamrock Music. In the previous videos of this lesson series, I discussed writing and arranging the music for a song, as well as recording a scratch track to write the melody to. Throughout this lesson series, I'm showing you how to get from this to this. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to write a melody, and then later we'll talk about writing lyrics to the melody, then recording, arranging, mixing, and mastering the song into a finished product. Exciting! If you haven't seen the previous videos, you can check them out linked below. Please like if you find this info useful and subscribe to see future videos in the series. So I already have the song laid out in my DAW. What I would normally do is render an MP3 and load it onto my mobile device and listen to it while running or in the car and try to think of a melody. In this lesson, I'm going to go through the process a lot more systematically, though. I'm going to start with the melody for the chorus because the chorus is the most important part of the song and you want it to be strong. Another argument for starting at the chorus is that, as I discussed earlier, you typically want to increase the intensity of the chorus, and a common way of doing that is to have the singers sing higher in their range. With that being said, the first thing you want to figure out when writing a melody is the singer's vocal range because that will provide you with a collection of notes you can use. Nobody wants the singer trying to hit notes they can't hit. Just to keep things simple, I'm going to use a typical male vocal range, which goes up to somewhere between E and G above middle C before hitting the break. Above that, most guys can sing in falsetto, but we're going to avoid that and stay in full voice. We'll go down to around the C an octave below middle C. Now you could also write a melody and then transpose the key of the song to a range that works with whoever is going to sing the song, as long as the melody fits within their range. By transposing the key of the song, the chords and the melody are shifted lower or higher in pitch. There are a couple of options that we can take for choosing the notes to use in the melody. The first would be to use chord tones, the notes within the chords that are being played at that particular time. The second would be the notes of the scale in the key that the song is in. For this song, I'm going to choose to write using the chord tones because I think it'll be a little more simple to illustrate writing a melody, although I might throw in a few additional notes from the scale to make it more interesting. Now, the best way to write a melody is to play the chords and jump in and sing what sounds good to you, but that's a little vague, so I'm going to show you another approach you can take that works well if you're a beginner, and that's a little more visual. I'm going to write the melody on the piano. You could also use a guitar or any other instrument as well, as long as you're playing the scale in that range. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to start with the chorus. If you haven't seen the previous video on how I wrote the music to this song, definitely check it out linked below. Also, if you don't know chord theory, there's a link for my theory course down there as well. In the music writing video, I laid out the phrasing and chordal structure for the chorus, which was A, B, A, C. The melody is going to follow that, and I'm going to use what's called antecedent and consequent phrasing, or call and answer phrasing. A good example of this is Beethoven's Ode to Joy melody. The antecedent phrase is the consequent phrase is So notice the only difference between the two phrases are the last three notes. In the antecedent phrase, the last three notes are E, D, D, which ends on the fifth of the 5G chord, while the consequent phrase concludes with the D, C, C, resolving on the root of the tonic chord. So I'm going to use the same idea because it'll keep the first part of each melodic phrase the same and thus be repetitive. Remember, repetition equals catchy and memorable. So here are all the chord tones for the chords in the chorus. Because we are in the key of C major, all of the chords that are within the key will be comprised of natural notes. As you can see, they're all natural notes except for the G sharp third of the E major chord and the A flat, flat third interval of the F minor chord. If you watched the previous video for writing the music, those were the chords outside of the key that I chose to make the song more interesting. The first chord is F major, which has F, A, and C as chord tones. I usually start by trying different notes to find as a first note of the melody, but in this case, I'm going to cut to it and start on middle C, which is the fifth interval and has a solemn, hollow character to it. It's also a little higher in our range, but it still leaves me space to build higher in pitch. So I'm going to start on the offbeat to leave the impact of the downbeat to the music, which has a more isolating effect than starting on the downbeat. Rhythmically, I'm going to keep the overall melody simple and subdivide down to eighth notes. So let's say I went up to D, the fifth of the G chord. I'll continue to rise higher in pitch and go to the E third for the C chord, but I'm going to add that little switchback there and step up to it. And then a passing note down to the C, which is a flat third of A minor. So let me play that whole A phrase there. I heard the A root and skip back up to the C, so I added that as well. Let me play it one more time. So for my B phrase, I'm going to repeat the first part of the A phrase. Then I'm going to add a minor third leap up to the fifth G of the C chord and then back down to the E, but this time as a root of the E major chord. Always add some leaps in your melody to make them stand out. From there, I'm just going to go down two steps, D and C, because that's what I'm hearing to resolve the phrase. So let me play that B phrase again. And then back to the A phrase. So for the C phrase, I'm going to borrow that A to C skip from the A phrase for additional repetition. And then that'll lead nicely down to the A flat third interval for the F minor chord. Make sure, use those notes outside of the scale to add more color. Then I'm going to continue that motif and extend it down to end on the G fifth of the C tonic chord. I'm also adding a little more rhythmic syncopation to make the melody more interesting. So let me play the chorus melody in totality. So do I always write this way, thinking about the chord tones, rhythm, steps, and skips? I never write this way. Because I've been a musician all my life, this stuff is second nature. You have to do a lot of it for it to meld into your gray matter like that, though. So, okay, let's move on to the verse. To keep things consistent, each lyrical line is going to add up to 2 measures like in the chorus. I'm also going to start on middle C again, but instead of rising in pitch from there, I'm going to descend in my phrasing. So this will add the effect of somberness to contrast with the uplifting rise of the phrasing in the chorus. So simple straight eighth note repetition down to the B third and G root of the G chord. So for the A minor, repeating some of the same repetitive root rhythmic motif from the first chord and then down to the G sharp third of the E chord. I love those outside notes. Then I'm just going to outline or arpeggiate the E chord. So 5-3 root. Let me play that whole thing there again. So one thing you want to understand is that the melody or any part of the song should not be set in stone. When I write the lyrics, I might change the melody a little bit to fit the lyrics, or if I come up with a great melodic idea that requires the music to change, I should stay open to changing it. So these are really just scratch melodies for now. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them. So instead of using antecedent consequent phrasing, I'm going to repeat the same melody but embellish it each time to develop it. I have the 4-bar verse progression laid out as repeating 4 times for a total of 16 bars in my scratch arrangement, so the melody will repeat 4 times total as well. So the first time, and then for the second time, so I'm just adding that C, you know, something like that, right? It's not a radical change. Remember, we want to keep it simple. So then for the third time around, I might do something like, so I'm adding that D up, you know, non-chord tone, and then, so those little up a step, back down motifs. You know, so just little embellishments like that. So again, I'm not going to really focus too much on perfecting this right now because it might change once I get the lyrics going. So, all right, moving on to the bridge. The first chord is E minor, which has the notes E, G, and B in it. Now, I think I want to go right into the bridge melody coming out of the chorus, so let me play each one of those notes to find the best note to start on. So if I'm going, there's G, let me try B. Yeah, I like that. Let me try E. Yeah, the E might be a little bit too big of a skip. So I think I like the B the best. So now I can start right on the bridge and going from the E chord. So yeah, I like that. So notice I'm bringing back that minor third motif. Again, repetition is key. Listeners like to hear familiar themes and motifs throughout a song. So let me do that again. Okay, that sounds good going into the E third of the C chord. And then stepping down to the root, D to C. Let me do that again. Okay, and then from there I'll repeat the melody again to bring us back to sort of call and answer phrasing. So now that E is the fifth of the A minor, so it sounds developed without even changing the melody. Okay, so I'm not totally staying within the chord tones there, but that's okay. It'll contrast with the other two parts of the song. I think that climax to high G is good also. So now let me play through the verse, chorus, bridge, and back to the first part of the chorus to hear all of the melodies in context. So now that the basic outline of the melody is finished, I can start working on writing the lyrics, which is going to be the next video in this series. Thanks for watching, and please like if you find this info useful, and subscribe to see the next video in this series on songwriting.